The Lord says, forget what happened before. Do not think about the past. Look at the new thing I am going to do. It is already happening. Don't you see it? I will make a road in the desert. I will make rivers in the dry land. Even the wild animals will be thankful to me. The wild dogs and owls will honor me. They will honor me when I put water in the desert. They will honor me when I make rivers in the dry land. I will do this to give water to my people, the ones I chose. These are the people I made, and they will sing songs to praise me.
Amen.
You are my rock and my protection. Set me free from the trap they set for me. I give you my life.
La foi est une façon de posséder ce qu'on espère. C'est un moyen d'être sûr des réalités que l'on ne voit pas. C'est parce qu'ils ont eu cette foi que les hommes des temps passés ont été approuvés par Dieu. C'est par la foi que nous comprenons que l'univers a été harmonieusement organisé par la parole de Dieu et qu'ainsi le monde visible tire son origine de l'invisible.
Faith means being sure of the things we hope for, and faith means knowing that something is real even if we don't not see it. People who lived in the past became famous because of faith. It is by faith we understand that the whole world was made by God's command. This means that what we see was made by something that cannot be seen.
Jesus was walking by Lake Galilee. He saw two brothers, Simon called Peter and Simon brother Andrew. The brothers were fishermen, and they were fishing in the lake with a net. Jesus said, "Come follow me. I will make you fishermen for men." At once, Simon and Andrew left their nets and followed him. Jesus continued walking by Lake Galilee. He saw two other brothers, James and John, the son of Zebedee. They were in a boat with their father Zebedee, preparing their nets to catch fish. Jesus told them to come with him. At once they left the boat and their father, and they followed Jesus.
Amen.
Good morning. Has everyone had a good workout this morning? Your heart's pumping? I felt like after we did the dances this morning that I had a good aerobic exercise. So now we've all prepared for the sermon today. It's my pleasure to speak with you this morning. You normally don't get to see me very often because I'm back with the kids. My name is Diana Keener, and I am in charge of children and family at CMP. And so I've been working here for about 8 years, and I'm delighted to share with you this morning. So in relationships, oh, wait, one more second. Sorry about that. So I'm going to talk about some ingredients. Whoops, sorry. You can tell I'm nervous, huh? So relationships is my first ingredient for a recipe. And so if you know me, I love to cook and I love to bake. And often I'm looking for new recipes to find something for my family or to share with a neighbor. And so one of the first ingredients in my recipes for church is relationships. And this past summer, someone had asked me out of nowhere, "Di, what's your secret sauce?" And I said, "My secret sauce?" And they said, "Well, we see good things happening at CMP, and we see good things happening with children in camp." I'm also a co-director of a children's camp. And I said, "Secret sauce?" I was very humbled and surprised by this question. And I said, "I have no secret sauce." But then I sat with it and thought about it, and I did come up with something that I think that God's put on my heart to share with you. So So the first ingredient is relationships. So it's in our very name, Kids Connect. So that's really our Sunday school and our Parents' Night Out. All the ministries that happen with our church is under this umbrella of called Kids Connect. And so in our name, it's about connection. So what does that mean? Healthy relationships with God, with others, and with ourselves. So we can look at the Gospels, and we can see people in relationships with one another and with Jesus. So Jesus calling disciples in Matthew 4:18-22, "Come, follow me, and I will make you fishers of people." So come in your work, come as a student, come and follow me. So Jesus called them as a group. They learned to practice together. They moved together. So in Kids Connect, it's a discipleship environment. We hang out together with Jesus. We're going to be like Jesus, and that's what Kids Connect is. So one of the learning opportunities that we had recently in one of my classes is that I said, "Hey kids, we're going to take some time to pray." And if you've taught children before, you know this can go a couple of different ways. You could be the only one praying, or maybe one person will volunteer. But this particular day, every child in the class prayed. So I said, "Okay, so whoever would like to pray, you could go ahead." And so I waited, and every kid around the table of 10 kids, they all prayed. And I was like, wow, that's such a good opportunity for us to spontaneously go to the Lord in prayer. So that's just one of the many examples of us connecting and learning together. So we want to develop this hunger and thirst for a relationship with Jesus and his ways. So that means being curious, asking questions and being ready, being thoughtful, being present and planning. So as teachers who teach the children, that's something we have to be planning, and we have to be present and thoughtful about what we're doing. It's also about relationships with other kids, with kids, with volunteers, with the CMP staff, church members, teens. It takes all of these different relationships. You know, we have someone in our church, a parishioner, who every time there's a parents' night out, brings me a little white envelope and says, "This is for a P&O." And they don't have any children that participate in it, but they want to let me know, I support this. And so that's one of the many relationships that makes up our ingredients for a very healthy and consistent ministry here at CMP. So consistency, that's our second ingredient. So I was looking through the Bible for this word, and I can't find it. So maybe if you find it, you can come back to me. But I think a good alternative to that is faithfulness. So being consistent is being faithful. So in Hebrews 11:1-3, faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. And this is what the anxious were commended for. So Paul goes on to give examples of faithful people. They were consistent. So in baking, consistency is important too. You need good measurements. So my husband, when he bakes, he's not very consistent. He just kind of throws things together. But I always say in baking, you have to be consistent. So that means the flour, you have to actually level it. You can't just throw in some baking powder and some baking soda. You have to measure those things for it to come out well. So we also need, because if you don't, you get these varying results, right? So that's what my husband gets. It's okay. Sometimes it turns out. We also need consistent technique. And this requires practice or training. Now, there's a difference between trying and training. You don't just try to cook or bake. You work at it, and you keep showing up. So we don't simply try in our faith, we train. We need to practice consistency, just like in running. So many of you know that I'm a runner, a pretty new runner in the past 3 years. And so when you're running and preparing for a race, for some of you that have done races recently, you have to train for it. You don't just I'm going to do a half marathon. No, you have to prepare and train. And so that's just like our faith in practicing consistency. You just keep showing up and you're training. So I want to praise our teachers and our volunteers, kids and teens for showing up consistently. This is a great example this morning. This didn't just happen overnight. We've been training together, working together consistently through many years. So I've been here for 8 years, and we've been in this church for 3, I think, years, Chris. So we're training and learning together. And it's not always been easy. During the pandemic, we met on Zoom, and somehow kids kept showing up. And I was so happy to see their faces and know that it mattered. It mattered to the families, and it mattered to the children. So I thank you. Thank you for all the different relationships that you keep showing up. And even when it's not easy. So another example of consistency is in class. I always go back to our learning environment in class. Reading. So reading is not something that everyone is comfortable doing. Especially in grades 1 to 3, you're really learning during that time, which is normal and good. And so some kids, it takes a lot of risk to decide, okay, I'll read today. You know, for many weeks, no one does because everyone's like, oh, I can't read yet, or I can only read in French, or I can only read in English. But then, after time, the children in the class actually help each other. Well, I can help you. If you start this, then I'll help you finish. Oh, that's really long. Let's chunk it out and help each other. And so this can be very scary for some to take the risk to read out loud, but they do it together and they help one each other. Isn't this a beautiful image of faithfulness? And what if adults did that too? Can you imagine? The last ingredient is trying new things. And this might seem a little contradictory to consistency, but it is not. It is very important and it is my favorite. Try something new. If you know me, you know that I don't normally make the same recipe twice. So take the example of, I don't know, chocolate chips, cookies, very basic. I will try to find a new chocolate chip recipe every single time. Why? Because it might be better. I don't know. I just want to try something new. So I really love new ways of doing things. In Isaiah 43:19 that was read this morning, see, I am doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it? So doing a new thing, it keeps you fresh, keeps you energetic, innovative, inspiring to try new things. And how do I do this? By learning and growing. I'm talking to parents, reflect with my teaching team. They're so amazing. Going to children's conferences, reading, asking other leaders questions. And so speaking of conferences, recently Leanne and I went to a conference in Toronto, to a children's ministry conference. And one thing that I learned there, I went to a workshop on accessibility in the church, because I'm very curious how to do this better in our church setting. And the leader of it taught us we need to look at the church and at our ministries through the eyes of the uniquely abled. And I thought, wow. And I've been sitting with that. So the speaker gave an example of even her own children. She has some children with very disabilities and challenges, and she talked about how she came into a church where it wasn't accessible at all. And she was really hurt by it, but you know what she did? She stayed at that church, and she made a difference. And she actually built a space for kids with sensory needs. And so they had this little space that was set up for children with different challenges, and it was a beautiful story. So just to say that it's important that we're trying new things, that we're learning and we're growing, and that was one thing that I did recently and had the opportunity to go to the conference. So I would say that I actually have an evolving recipe, which always includes relationships, consistency, and for me, constant change, trying a new thing. So I will leave the church with the challenge. In what ways is our church investing in relationships with each other and with God? In what ways can we practice consistency and faithfulness? How are we being called to show up and work at being the best we can be? Are we trying new things? Are we willing to try new things? I know some may say, well, we've already tried new things. We've merged churches, renovated our building. The list could go on. For me, I recently saw my rheumatologist who told me, guess what? You have a new diagnosed arthritis. Yay. And I said, well, what can I do? She said, keep moving. Don't stop moving. And I said, all right. So there's always a new thing. It's just how you look at it and what you can do with it. And lastly, I want to ask each of you personally, what is your secret sauce? If somebody asked you that, what would you say? What are you cooking? What are your ingredients? In what ways are you practicing consistency? Are you flexible and constantly learning? Or at least open to learning? With an evolving recipe, there will always be relationships, consistency, and constant change. So, in what ways are you investing in your relationship with Jesus? In what ways are you investing in CMP and its ministry? And in what ways are you still growing in your faith and trying new things? Now you know Di's secret sauce, and I hope it'll encourage you in your own journey with Christ. Thank you so much.
We come to God in prayer, bringing to God our thanksgivings, laments, petitions, and confessions.